This video tutorial is being brought to you by learningcomputer.com. Today we are going to do an Excel 2013 tutorial. Our topic is going to be freezing panes, so let's jump right into it. Well, why freeze panes, or what does it even mean? Well, freezing or locking panes is quite useful when working with large set of data in Excel 2013. Without this functionality of freezing panes, you will be unable to see the headings in the top row or the first column. So imagine, a lot of data. We are going to show you a demo in a second, in a few seconds here. But if you have a lot of data, and as you're trying to scroll to the right or the bottom, if you don't have the headings, you will not be able to, see what exact object or person or thing that you are looking for. Now after you freeze panes, like I mentioned, as you scroll to the right or the bottom, Excel 2013 will essentially lock that specific area in the spreadsheet. So the best way to do this is to really look at a demo, and today we are going to be looking at two of them. The first one we will start with is a gradebook example. And specifically, as far as the different options of freezing panes, you can do either of these. You can freeze the top row. You can also freeze first column, which is going to be the column A, and you can freeze any column or row really, so you can do a combination. And shall we look at this in action? Well, sure we can. So I'm going to switch over to Excel 2013. I have two spreadsheets, so let me take a look at this one. Let's kind of go over this. This is a grading application for a database class that I taught some time ago. We have the students in the top two rows, so you have the last name, first name, and they pretty much are listed in a horizontal manner. Now on the vertical axis we have the actual project and the midterm information. So you can see this is project 1, and you can see that Mike scored 45 points, Craig scored 40, and so on and so forth. We keep going, and then you have the midterm number 1, and people did okay. Justice needs a little help here. But essentially you get the idea. We have a combination of projects, we have some midterms, um, we keep going, and then finally we have the final exam and participation for points. Now notice though, now I'm unable to really see, if I'm over here and I want to know who scored these points. How do I know that? Okay, I can't tell what student I'm talking about. Okay, so this is where the freezing panes comes in handy. Let me go back to the top of that section. So let me just scroll back up. Another thing I want to show you is if I start going to the right, let's say I'm interested in midterm 1, and see what did people score as far as what is the average. You'll notice that I have a column on averages. So what did people score on the midterm? Well, looks like it was 112. And so this way I can see where are these students placing. Okay, so as you can see, we are unable to freeze, look at the data. And by the way, on the bottom, here is what the people scored. Here are the total number of points, and the last item here is the percent. So this is really, this 1528 divided by 1780 will give us 85%. Okay, so that's our data. How do we really do this? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is going to freeze the first column, which like I mentioned is this column. And the idea is going to be that as we scroll to the right, it should get locked. Okay, so really what you do is doesn't matter. You could have a cursor any point for this one. You are going to go to basically, this is not in the home tab. You're going to want to go to the view tab. Okay, and then you will see the window group, and within the window group you will see this option that says freeze panes. Okay, I'm going to click on the drop down, and this time we have three options, but I'm really interested in the top row, and you can see they highlight what section we're talking about. In fact, let me take that back. I'm going to actually freeze the first column. Okay, I would like to know, what item we're working on, if it's a project, midterm, and whatnot. So simply select that. Okay, now let's come back to our midterm. Okay, I would like to know, what are my averages for my different assignments that I'm giving, and I'm actually going to scroll all the way to the right. Okay, so now look at this. Okay, I can easily see that in project one my average was 40.18. Okay, these are the total number of points, and we can kind of keep going down. You can kind of see some trends right away. You can see that project 5 seemed to be a little bit harder than the rest. Okay, the midterm again, 112 out of 200, so that's the average. That looks like a pretty tough midterm, and so on and so forth. And we can keep going, and you can see on the bottom we have the final, which is 181 out of 300 points. Okay, so that's how you freeze the first column. Okay, now if you wanted to change that, in other words, take it out, you just go back to freeze panes and select unfreeze panes. What this is going to do is now it's just like your regular Excel sheet. If you scroll back and forth, nothing is locked. Okay, so far so good. Basically, what we have done is we just did this first option. Okay, now how do we? That's good. How do we do? The top row. Okay, so now we are going to again switch back to this. So in other words, what we're trying to do is if I scroll down, I would like to know, for example, let's say rich white. Okay, what did they? I guess what are their total points, or what kind of percent are we talking about here? Obviously, I can scroll down and find out that they scored 1352, but it would be nice to see the students up here. Okay, so I can kind of clearly see one of these students is doing really good, which is 92%, but I can't see that, right? So now I'm going to go back to the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to, again, the cursor can be any place. It doesn't have to be in the first spot. Now this time I'm actually going to freeze, select this one, and then my choice is going to be freeze top row. Okay, first time we did the column, now we're going to do the row. Now you can see that it puts this solid line below the last name. Okay, now as I'm scrolling down, excuse me, I can see that, in fact, let me just keep going down. All right, so look at this. Uh, Easily I can see that, student white scored 1352 points out of 1780 with a percent of 76%. I can easily go back and forth and see, okay, well, how did some of these other students do? I have a student named Joel Reboot. They love to reboot their machines, so that's why that's their last name. But they actually did pretty good. They scored 1620 out of 1780 to get a percent of 91%. So that would be an A grade. Okay, you can easily see that, and the way we did that is we froze the top row. Okay, well, so far so good. This looks good. How do we do a combination? In other words, I would like to freeze not only the top row but maybe a certain column. Okay, because notice if I go to the right, nothing is frozen. So we can actually show you how to do that too. Before I do that, I'm going to unfreeze this one, and I'm going to switch over to a different application. This is electric rates in the zip code that I live, and I'm trying to save some cash. That's what we are trying to do nowadays. A lot of people are trying to do. So I would like to know, just FYI, this is basically the company information. They're talking about what product it is, what rate we're talking, kilowatt hours, um, so on and so forth, right? Okay, and one of the things I'm interested in is the cancellation fee. So how do I do that? Okay, so again, I can I can come in here, go back to the view tab, do freeze panes, and let's just freeze the first column. You already know how to do this. So now again, if I scroll right, I can easily see what are the cancellation policies, right? So it looks like Pennywise, which is named appropriately, they're only charging $75. So maybe that's the one I want to stick with. Okay, and there are some other information in here. You can look. Apparently there's a lot of electric providers in Texas. Okay, so that's what we can do. But let's take this a step further. Okay, I would like to not only freeze this column, but I want to freeze like a certain amount of information. So in other words, let's say I want to freeze this the first row for sure. Okay, and then I want to freeze 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Okay, so I want to see uh, in fact the first 5 columns, and I want to see the top row as well. How do you do that? Well, here's a little trick. You basically bring your cursor at the spot that's going to be the key factor. So in other words, the row above it needs to be frozen, and the columns to the left of it, which are all these columns, need to be frozen. So these columns need to be frozen. Okay, so my magic point is right here, which is going to be F2. You can see that it's highlighted. And now I'm going to go back here, right? And I'm going to pick freeze panes. Now you can see that it put a solid line above it and on to the left of it. Now check this out. If I go to the right, notice this. See, not only is the top row locked, but now my first 5 columns are locked as well. So that's kind of cool, right? I mean, I can now, not only am I able to see the cancellation information, but I can see the kilowatt hour charges. I can see some other information. So that's I think that's pretty much what we wanted to cover. It's a short video, and we showed you how to freeze the top row, the first column, and really any row or column. Now, if you wanted to find more information about Excel or some of these other related topics, check out our website, learningcomputer.com. We have a lot of free information here. In fact, we're going to be coming up with some tutorials on 2013. We also have a blog that we cover a lot of different topics in here. We post on a regular basis, and you can see we have a lot of different categories and whatnot. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching the video.